6%. I thought there was more.
6 of us on the live chat, as you might just have got from Matt there. Welcome along if you're tuning in at 6 o'clock Thursday night, 6:02. So apologies if you've been waiting on the countdown, but you're very welcome. Tonight I'm joined by Andy Mead, Mead New Homes, selling new homes, anything between West London and the West Country. Mike Childs, based in High Wycombe, Hazelmere, Penn, and Buckinghamshire. Mark Holloway of North Hampshire. Matt, who is Wokingham, and Dan, who looks after Shinfield, Lower Early, Arborfield, and Winnersh. So we're well covered in the home counties tonight. So thanks for coming along. Tonight we have 4 topics to run through between the 6 people. First thing we're going to talk about is the 2nd of Thursday of the month, which means just one thing to Stats Geeks. It means the Bank of England released their base rate changes, and it's changed for the first time in a long time. Base rate's risen to 0.25% from 0.1. Andy Mead was the first on our WhatsApp group chat to slag off the media for calling it an interest rate hike. What do you think
I don't get it.
of 0.15% increase? Andy, you were the first one to absolutely tear shreds off Sky News for calling it that. So give us your 90 seconds worth.
90 seconds worth. Sky News and BBC, I think, they're just gutter. They just talk crap all the time. I'm not going to get on my soapbox on it, but yes, it's an interest rate rise. Yes, the interest rates have gone up, but in the grand scheme of things, I spoke to a broker this afternoon, and for every £50,000 on an interest-only mortgage, it equates to about £6.25 for every 50 grand you borrow.
Okay, so average mortgage. 250,000 these days, are we saying?
Could be, yeah.
£6.25, did you say?
£6.25.
£30, £31.30.
£31 a month if your bank adds that to your mortgage rate. There's a lot of people saying there'll be no changes this side of the year anyway from most lenders. So
and that's based on an interest-only mortgage as well.
Yeah.
So
you're looking at basically maybe a £20 to £30 increase on a mortgage if that increase is passed your way. Will it affect the market? Resi agents?
No, because there's still a shortage of properties, isn't there? And a lot of people that want to buy. And let's face it, lending's still very, very cheap to borrow money. It's probably still very, very low. So I don't think that'll affect the market at all.
Yeah, that huge hike won't have a difference.
We did joke. Depending on the way you split your stats, that's a 150% increase in interest rates, or it's 0.15% on top of the base rate, depending on which side of the media fence and whether you're trying to stir up absolute panic in the general public again. So the general consensus is the interest rates have risen. I think we all, between the 6 of us, all knew they were going to rise today. I think all the banks knew they were going to rise a month ago, and if they were going to make their changes, they would have already made them. Fair comment.
They would have known it's been coming anyway, and they were probably the reason why we've seen the slight increase in mortgage rates anyway over the past month. So, yeah, it won't make a blind bit of difference moving forward, I can't imagine.
Business as usual.
Totally.
In that case. So let's talk about something that's a little bit more real. Inflation. Figures have been released, I believe, at 5.1%, which is the highest inflation rate I can remember. But I am very young.
Highest for 10 years.
Don't come to me then, mate.
Yeah.
To put that extra 25, 30 quid in context, it probably costs me about 25 or 30 pound more to fill my tank of petrol than it used to, which is a much smaller expense than my mortgage is on a monthly basis.
I'm going to be really controversial here. But for everybody who filled up their car with petrol, when we had this petrol crisis that we didn't have, that had more than half a tank, thank you for inflation. because that's the reason why the petrol values went through the roof.
Interesting theory. I'm not sure it caused inflation.
I'm going to go now.
In my opinion,
I think $19 trillion being injected into the world economy had a bigger effect than Mr. and Mrs. Goggins filling up their tanks. But
every day.
You saw it on Sky News, didn't you, Andy?
Yeah. Well, you couldn't miss it, could you? They're outside every petrol station whenever a car pulled up. Oh no, who's going to be queuing up now? How much petrol have you got in your tank? 3/4 of a tank. Why are you filling up? Because there's no fuel. There is loads of fuel.
there is.
I'll tell you something I find interesting though. I went on a valuation stay and a take on, and both the sellers spoke to me very quickly about inflation and about the base rate going up. So whatever we think of the media, people read it, hear it, see it. This is the point, isn't it, for us to understand it more, because people don't understand it and they're going, "Oh crap!" And I do. You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. It causes talk. It causes a little bit of chatter, and that chatter causes a little bit of movement in a market, which is exactly what happened with the petrol stations. There wasn't a problem, but it caused a problem onwards. So here's a qualified opinion.
The media caused a problem. They can do the same with the interest rate rise as well. It's how they sell it and how they promote everything. You know, it's always a negative rather than, okay, fine, that's not great, but on the other side of the coin you've got that which overlaps the negative. So it's Dan's right. It causes conversation, but the conversation can either be weighted towards very, very negative or positive. Yes, the interest rate's gone up, but the housing market is still as strong as it has ever been, and the predictions are for next year it's going to be as strong going into the new year.
So here's a qualified opinion on the screen. Our mortgage broker, fronted by Akil Mayer, who you might have seen on a few of our channels and podcasts, one of the biggest mortgage brokers in the area. I'm looking forward to seeing the lender reaction tomorrow. The prediction is, and this is a well thought out prediction, they'll continue to do battle with each other and continue to reduce their fixed rates.
Doesn't surprise me. They want the business. A lot of business out there, isn't there? So they're going to want to win it. So
absolutely, yeah. So what we've seen coming out over the last couple of weeks, probably month or so, is buy-to-let mortgage rates are cheaper at 60% loan to value than residential rates, which in my career I've never seen, just like I've never seen over 5% inflation. I haven't seen a lot, apparently. It's interesting that buy-to-let rates have become cheaper than residential mortgage rates. Traditionally, they are 1.5 percentage points higher, seen on risk, but they've actually become cheaper, potentially because rents have risen, because inflation's driving that, because there's more demand for rental properties, and because a lot of landlords are selling. There's twice as many landlords selling as there are buying at the moment, which means that mortgages are being redeemed, and those banks have to lend that money back out. So they're getting into price wars to be able to lend the money out rather than it's sitting in their accounts. And that's the bank.
They also want to make it look competitive, Mike, as well, because if they make it look competitive, there's a lot of people out there with buy-to-let properties that have no mortgage on it as well. So they're seeing it a way of driving the market forward. So if they've got capital tied up in their home or in their buy-to-let where they can release 50% of it to buy something else, they want to make it as good an option for an investor to go, I'll tell you what, I can borrow the money at, what was the rate? 1.19%.
Yeah, basically dead on 1%.
Yeah, 1%. Yeah. So you can borrow money at 1%, another however much, half of what the value of the property is, and then use it to then capitalise on it thereafter. So there's a win-win from a mortgage perspective. Plus the thresholds and the capital changes and the calculations that they use to be able to substantiate the income is greater, because rather than just using a 25% deposit and then using the rent calculators as your mortgage availability, the owner of the property or the buy-to-let landlord now has to have an income to support that alongside a bigger deposit. So there's more that they've got out there. Plus they know they've got a lot of old money out there. So why not try and take advantage of it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's an amazing situation that we find ourselves in, that if you own a £300,000 buy-to-let outright, you can borrow £150,000 against it
At 1%.
At 1% to buy another one, which will return 5 to 6% return. So
no brainer.
Money makes money I don't think it's ever been truer.
Couldn't agree with you more.
I've just got to own something outright at 300 grand, haven't I? Be all right.
That's the starting point. Like I said, money makes money. That's where we are. Let's talk about the current situation with COVID. No one likes saying it, but everyone's talking about it. First and foremost, hearts go out a little bit to those in the hospitality industry. Seen a lot of people on social media about cancellations, Christmas parties being cancelled, Christmas meals being cancelled. Obviously, the hospitality industry absolutely relies on Christmas to be profitable. So if you're in that industry, we stand behind you, and we'll do anything we can to promote you. So if you're doing any offers, if you're doing any deliveries, if you're changing your business through Christmas to deliver food again rather than have people in your restaurants, then reach out to your local agent, and those people will absolutely plug the hell out of it. And that's it. Doesn't have to be hospitality. That's just one that comes to my mind as people have been absolutely sort of crushed in their businesses. Everyone who sits around this table owns their own business, so we've been lucky, in the way we work in the last 2 years, but there's been those who aren't. So please, if you're within the regions of those other people and you run a business, reach out. We'll repost anything that you want us to repost to help your business. Firstly,
100%.
There we go. Jade, if you're in that industry, give us a shout out, or if you know anyone, exactly the same thing, because it's a big thing, supporting the local companies around us. Another thing, if you are local, we support the cowsheds. They're trying to provide something like 12,000 gifts to people this Christmas who are either on their own, vulnerable children or adults. They're running out of presents. So hit the Cowsheds Facebook page, see what you can do. So there's my 2 plugs. So COVID, as I was going into it, let's talk about what we can do for people over the next 2 or 3 weeks whilst they're off. They've got their kids. Let's talk social distancing valuations, guys.
Yeah, to the word straight on. Yeah, it's that's a good facility. That's a great facility, Mike, because I'm sure you might be able to share the link out there on the video once it's posted. But what it enables people to do is to upload pictures of their house, give us a much more descriptive view, and then maybe even organise a FaceTime chat with them to have a little wander around at the same time. There's more and more people that are going to be very, very conscious and very aware that they don't want to be meeting up with anybody, certainly between now and Christmas, but maybe even post that with the rates as high as they are. So I think this isn't an opportunity to dig your head in the sand if you're thinking about doing something next year. In actual fact, there are ways and means to be able to get around it. So the social distancing valuation tool that we've got available to us gives them the opportunity to be able to do that and still transact accordingly. I remember going back years and years and years ago, you could only ever do a mortgage appointment and sign up to do a mortgage in person with a mortgage broker in an office. Now, the mortgage broker that I use only does things over Zoom, and then sends everything out via DocuSign. So whilst it's slightly impersonal, the opportunity to still do business is there. So it's very important to be able to make sure that if you are thinking about moving, that you still have that opportunity to be able to do it, and give us a shout because we can still do it remotely.
So anyone want to explain what a social distance valuation looks like?
I don't mind.
I can do it. I can do it, but it'll be on a building site shouting at a builder.
That's antisocial. We're talking social.
I mean, for me, there's probably a few different ways to do it, isn't there? We've got obviously, as Matthew was saying, the link we can send out where you can upload your own photos of the property condition, things like that, where we can look at it in depth and come back to you that way. I did quite a few. I don't know if it was last year or earlier this year. I can't all go so quickly, but where there've been, sort of Zoom calls or a FaceTime chat on the phone, walk me around the property. and then come back to them with sort of a value and market update. It's exactly the same as it would be face to face, just without being next to each other. I mean, let's face it, we're all local within our areas. We know what the house prices are pretty closely. It's just having that sort of look at the condition and a few bits inside, and we can give the right advice. So yeah, pretty easy, I would say. I've also just had an old seller of mine recently message me with a video of our home. She's getting a remortgage and videoed it inside for me, just to show me the condition. I'm going to come back to her tonight, a quick phone call with a price for her. And that's taken her about 4 or 5 minutes. So it's fairly simple and straightforward. And other than that, it's as it would be, really.
Yeah, no, it's great. We've got a specific tool. If you want to request a socially distanced valuation, we can pop the link on after the live chat. When this is reproduced, you can upload your photos into it. You can upload the detail into it. We can send back a tailored report and give someone a really, really accurate number. And as Dan said, if you want to take it another step further, book an appointment, whether it's FaceTime, whether it's WhatsApp video, walk us around the house and we can talk about it. Because, yeah, 9 days to Christmas, it doesn't feel like 9 days to Christmas. It feels like the middle of July from a market point of view. Yeah, I mean, I'm for one. I don't think many people really want to see too many people in their house. I think people are sort of going to close down the amount of people. Hello there to whoever's in Mike's picture. Bring them in. They will get asked a question.
With me.
They're going to get asked a question.
Oh, that's
hello.
not...
Hello. You can't sit on my lap. No, go away. Say hello.
Go away.
See ya.
So they will get. I think a lot of people, as I say, will be closing their networks in slightly for the next 10 days, and I think that's very sensible. So if you want to get that number before the new year, it's probably the best way to do things to get things ready.
Yeah. And a lot of people have been waiting over December to do something in January as well. So this is an opportunity now to actually do something rather than wait another month until you do it again when rates are still going to be as high as they are. Thanks, Ian.
Here he is. Omnipresent. That's what they call omnipresent Ian. That's what they call him. He might not be on the chat tonight, but he's on the chat. Just making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. That's the link. You can register your details. You can upload your photos into there, and we can provide a full socially distanced valuation pre New Year, ready for you to move in January. So, award for the most best dressed background goes to Mark Holloway. By the way, very well framed picture, Mark.
I know. Took forever to set up.
Let's hear from you, Mark, if you will. What's happening in Yateley in the next 10 days on the social calendar that's worth promoting on the spot?
On the spot, fantastic Christmas meals at the Dog and Partridge. Well worth going. They do social distancing. We've actually got an outbreak of COVID just like everywhere else. Especially at Yateley School, it seems. My daughter's down with it. So it's lateral flows every morning. But everyone's upbeat. You know, we knew it was going to happen. How we've got this far without catching it, we don't know. And when you've got a school the size of Yateley, you know it's around the corner. But, we had our nativity last week. Great attendance. We have an outdoor nativity every year. Live donkeys and sheep and things. It's always slightly hilarious when the sheep go wandering off. It's all good. Everyone's smiling in Yateley.
And what's the call for next year in Yateley? Where are we looking? What's the prediction for the first part of next year for the housing market for your locals?
You know, the demand. I can't get over the demand. I've never seen anything like it. I've been in this game for years. Every day, I'm looking for a 3-bed. I'm looking for a 4-bed. What have you got in Yateley? Nothing. I've got people saying they're going to come to the market in January. I've got a couple which I'm going to be launching on Boxing Day. Personally, house prices will increase. I virtually put my hand on my heart, and I think we're looking at a 5 to 6% increase over the next 12 months. Demand's fantastic. It's just getting the supply.
Okay, you've just talked about people who want to put their house on the market, but aren't going to put their house on the market because they can't find anything that they want to buy. I predict within the next 90 seconds, Ian Macbeth is about to put a link into the comments about how to register yourself for a heads up property alert. I'll give you the heads up that might happen. Heads up property alert is where you can register yourself for a specific street, and if a specific street has a valuation that happens in it, you will hear about it, and you may be able to view that property if it comes to the market before it ever comes to the market. It's a tool that we're launching imminently. Mike, other end of the world for us, from Yateley to the north. Here we go. My prediction was right.
There he is.
Interested in that kind of information, take that down if you're watching and you're a local. That is a very, very interesting new tool which will become absolutely fire next year. But Mike, up north, Wickham, it's probably already snowing up there, no doubt. It's always snowing in Wickham when I go to Wickham. Let's hear 90 seconds on Wickham from you.
Same situation as Hampshire. Well, the markets really. I have two of my vendors, both want a 4-bedroom detached house. I've got a list of people who all same thing. They want a 4-bedroom detached house. Just waiting for those to come onto the market. That's where the demand is. And I think with COVID resurfacing, if it ever went away, I think the demand from people moving out of the big smoke, sort of this side of London, if you like, I think that will continue to grow and grow going into next year.
I heard from a chap in the DPS, who is the Deposit Protection Service, on tenancies today, that people are starting to move back from the country to the cities because they're a little bit bored.
Really?
We'll see if that happens in the residential sales market as well. People all moved out into the country and now found they're a little bit bored in the country and all moving back to the cities. And that's
I think
good
what
stats.
they've done, Mike, they've gone completely one scale to the next scale, haven't they? They've gone from like living in London to like living in like Devon. You know, it's there is definitely a middle ground which still keeps you commutable.
Like where we live.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going with that. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
Disclaimer that other countries are available.
Yeah, absolutely right. I think some people just took it massively to the extreme where they went from London. And I'll tell you what, we're going to live in the countryside. I'll buy somewhere in the Cotswolds or go there. No wonder they're bored because it's so different compared to what they used to. But the benefit is they still got that facility in Wokingham and Wickham and all over the place.
Yeah, it really piqued my interest that it's sort of the grass is always greener, isn't it? If you're in the city, you want to be in the country, and if you're in the country, you want to be in the city. But it was a fantastic stat that he had, just revealed the numbers of where people are moving, and how London prices absolutely caved in because no one wanted to rent in London, and now they're back where they were in pre-pandemic levels. So that's a rental market is a very flexible market. Sales market takes a little bit longer, but it will be interesting to see if 2022 you see that slow migration back to the towns from the cities. Matt, you joined us a couple of weeks ago and recorded a podcast which Tristan has asked you to plug clearly for your 90 seconds.
Reminder, podcast going out tomorrow. Okay, podcast going out tomorrow. Watch it.
There you go.
It's as standard. It's a lot of me talking in it, but it was good. No, it was really good. It was a good opportunity for buy-to-let landlords to understand the market and what they're going to be doing. And in truth, I can't honestly remember exactly what I said, so I can't plug it too much. But
it was all good stuff.
It would have been Mike. Yeah.
Tristan, I'm sure, is still watching, and within 90 seconds, Tristan's going to put a link to the podcast. Now, about 500 people listen to our podcast now. It is a landlord podcast to give advice on regulation changes, the market, chat with really important people like the managing director of the Deposit Protection Service. So there's nothing that you can't learn on there. So if you don't subscribe, Tristan's going to put a link on there. So absolutely shameless plug. Andy Mead, second to last, 90 seconds on the world of new homes.
I think the government are still plugging to get 300,000 new homes built every year. I don't see that's going to happen next year. There's a massive issue with procurement of materials and qualified labour. But anything that comes on the market is going to sell like a proverbial hotcake. We've got a site coming up just on the outskirts of Michael's area, up on the hills, which is 5 houses ranging from 2 to 4-bedroom detached houses that we've not done anything on it yet apart from put a board up, and the inquiries I've had are just incredible. So the new homes housing market is going to be great. I think there's a lot of change to happen in the mortgage rates and the mortgage affordability, because there's talk that the Bank of England are going to relax the reversion rate, which is a discussion to have with a mortgage broker later down the line. But the reversion rate is basically a perceived rate 3% above the lender's rate to account for affordability. They're looking at getting rid of that. That will enable people to get a mortgage based on affordability. So the people that are in rented that can't get mortgages because of the reversion rate, what have you, if that goes, then you'll be getting people in rented that will then be looking to buy and get mortgages. So I think the market is going to, I'm confident the market next year is going to be maybe not as hot as this year, but it's going to be very, very good.
Andy, the watch rate live just dropped through the floor while you were talking about that.
Oh, really?
Sorry about that. Everyone loved Mike. It's gone up again now. It's gone up again. We're all right. Essentially, it means about 60,000 people who are tenants will, when that is reversed, the affordability test is reversed, about 60,000 more people will be able to afford mortgages. And those are people who are probably paying massively higher rents than they will do when they're paying mortgages. So it's not a return to again, this is the media, Andy. Media were telling you that this was a return to subprime lending. It actually means people who are paying 1,500 quid or £2,000 to rent a 3 or a 4-bedroom house will now be able to buy one and probably pay £1,000 to £1,200 on the mortgage and be better off. So we see it as a really, really good, thing. So Ian Macbeth, long 90 seconds, Andy, like watching music 4 a.m.
It's rich coming from him, isn't it?
But it's a fair point, well made. Other people making points while you were making your long point. I was wrong. 500 people a week don't listen to our podcast. It's 600. Blow your own trumpet, Tristan. But well done. It is a very, very good podcast. And the link is in the comments, which are quite busy. Ian's admitted it. Don't need to say any more on that. Last man standing, Dan, local guy, agent. What is your spot? What's going to happen next year? Arborfield, Chinfield, Lower Early and Winnersh.
It's going to pop off. There we go. I think it's going to be a really busy market. I'm really excited for it. I think everybody who's listening now or will be listening that is thinking of selling in January, if everyone did that and put it on the market, there'd be more houses for people to buy, and I think it would start it rolling quicker. But we've got quite a few properties to launch. I know other agents will, so I think we'll see more on, and there's a lot of people that want to buy. So I think it's going to get stronger. In the local area where we are as well, we've got a lot of activity around things like the film studio, and now Disney have got a contract to be part of that, and there's lots of houses being built. So actually there's a lot going on in and around sort of Chinfield and surrounding Lower Early and bits. So there's going to be more houses being built, a lot of work going on. So actually I think it's going to look really positive for where we are.
So there's a risk that Dan and Neil won't be Chinfield's biggest film stars anymore.
No, but unless we go start filming with the Disney lot, get Moana on stage, man. You're right.
Most of you people on Facebook might not be Dan and Neil in the local area, but they can handle that. I'm sure they can handle that. But just in summary, there's a lot of positivity around the market. In raise to interest rates, we think has already been taken into account, and Akil jumping on the comments there really just reinforces that. He actually thinks that rates will drop regardless of what the Bank of England do for the short term. As a business, we have 3 agents joining us already next year, which is really, really exciting. So we'll be pushing the boundaries. So if you're an estate agent or letting agent watching this on LinkedIn, from the backgrounds and not commenting, fair enough. Feel free to message any one of us and have a chat. because there are a lot of patches that are still available and a lot of patches that are already signed up and gone. And we will be recruiting in the new year for you to run your own estate agency business under the Avocado banner. But I think I've plugged enough stuff this evening. Plugged the podcast, I plugged mortgages, I plugged social distancing evaluations, and I plugged our limited business. Is there anything else anyone else wants to tell the world before we let them go to dinner?
I think I want to go back to your initial point with local businesses. Anybody that needs any help on social media, whether you're a pub, a restaurant, a cafe, or anything that you need our help, we are happy to help. We've got the videoing tools, we've got the expertise in the social media marketing. And we are, well, I for one, I did a few pubs last year.
Did you?
On the other lockdown with
frequented a few pubs.
I didn't frequent them, no, because they were closed. You couldn't. But I did one with the drone images going down the river and what have you. So just actually showing people what they can get. And the pub in question said that the week that the advert was on Facebook, their bookings went up threefold. Whether it's because of that, I don't know. But it's there. The offer is there. So drop us a line, drop me a line. I'm more than happy to help out over the next 2 to 3 weeks and even going into January, seeing whatever happens.
DNA drone services. And that's the last plug of the night.
Put the hat on it.
Quickly.
I can go from medium famous to DNA drone services.
If you don't know and you're watching this, and Andy Mead, who's New Home Superstar, also owns DNA Drone Services. He's a fully qualified drone pilot, and he owns a drone which is valued roughly the same as my wife's car.
I was going to say,
which his wife is massively impressed by. I hear. So the offers out there from a professional drone pilot. If your business needs some promoting in the local area, then please reach out, because he will be more than happy to help out pro bono over the Christmas break.
Absolutely.
Defo. Yeah, defo.
I really enjoyed that. I know. Just under the camera, Matt's got a beer. Which
no, I haven't. It's actually here, but I haven't drunk it because I didn't. Anyway. I'll finish it when we're not live.
Maybe do that next week. Christmas beers. What do you think?
That's a good idea. I won't be here.
Christmas beach beers. Good evening. Thanks for watching. As ever, if you don't tune in next week, have a fantastic Christmas.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
See you later.
Bye.